Lately, you might be seeing Cascara popping up in different coffee shops for different recipes and wondering, what is this mystery, illustrious ingredient? And the short answer is Cascara is coffee, or at least a part of coffee. It's not the bean that we know and love, but it actually is the fruit or the skin of the fruit that our precious beans are held inside. The drying of these coffee cherries results in an almost coffee tea combination, making a delicious drink that has sort of fruit, raisin sort of notes that is really, really delicious. And it's actually been enjoyed for hundreds of years, and we're finally just catching on now. Normally during the process of farming, these coffee cherries are actually used as compost to fertilize the coffee farms. And now certain coffee farms are starting to export this delicious ingredient that we've really only started to really pop up in coffee shops now. We are really excited to have two different kinds of Cascara here with us, and the only differences between the two is the processes in which the coffee beans were actually extracted. So with the wet process, coffee beans are pulled through a series of water-based machines that remove the fruit-like skins off of the beans, as well as the inner layer that surrounds the bean inside. And the dry process is when coffee farms actually dry the whole fruit outside for over a course of a month, rotating it multiple times, and then almost beating the coffee beans out of the skins. So you can see with the wet process that the skins are a little bit more intact. They kind of have more of a little bit of a leathery feel to them, versus the dry process almost resemble the shells from maybe, let's say, a nut or an acorn, it almost looks like, and they're a little bit more broken up. However, because the dry process is dried with the whole bean itself, it usually results a little bit more in some more fruitier, fragrant notes, whereas the wet process tends to be a little bit brighter in the cup. However, this is also a matter of taste and experimentation. So we're excited to show you different ways that you could also bring Cascara into your home and how it's actually prepared. Not to be mistaken with Cascara.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
It's the bark of a different kind of tree.
And it definitely makes you poop.
Yeah.
Different things. And let's mention poop because it makes people laugh. Not to be confused with Cascara Sagrada, which is actually a bark that can be brewed like a tea as a natural laxative. The Cascara skins that we are using do not have that effect. They do, however, have a similar caffeinated effect than coffee would. There are some people that debate whether or not Cascara actually has more caffeine in it than coffee beans since they've been roasted. But you know what? That's worth experimenting, and we'd like to see how maybe it affects you. You should definitely leave your results in the comments below, and we'll maybe let you know about how we feel after we enjoy a nice brewed cup of our Cascara. We have our kettle boiling now, and we're going to show you some easy ways to bring Cascara into your home and how you can enjoy it. And the first way is the traditional way that has been enjoyed for many years, which is brewing a nice coffee, tea, or combination of the two. We're going to steep the Cascara skins in some boiling water. We're going to do so in a French press so that it allows us to just easily strain it out. You can easily do this with just a tea bag strainer or just having them float in the cup and then strain them out afterward. We're going to take the dried processed Cascara and we're going to use it to steep it, because I think that with the French press I'll be able to extract from that a little bit better. Ratios are all a matter of taste and maybe even of whichever process you choose. You can see certain recipes that call for Cascara as strong as a 10-to-1 ratio or as watered down as a 20 to 25 to 1 ratio. So we're going to do 15 to 1 because that just seems like a nice middle ground, and you can always adjust it if it seems either too sweet or not strong enough.
Just flip it back to ounces.
So we're going to let this sit for about 4 to 5 minutes, and while we do that, we're going to show you how to make a very easy, simple syrup so you can just have it on your counter and ready for any of your coffee-based drinks. For a traditional simple syrup, you want to use equal parts water and sugar. So for this, we're going to steep the Cascara first, and make almost a concentrate and then add sugar into it. So for this, you're actually going to want to add a little bit more water initially. So instead of just 1 cup, we're going to do 1.5 cups, just because the Cascara is going to absorb some of that. Also when it's boiling, it might release some of that in the atmosphere while it evaporates. So we're going to do 1.5 cups of water, and we're going to do 1/2 cup of Cascara. I'm actually going to use the wet process for this one, just because I think that it might lend itself to a nice color and some nice brightness within the syrup. So we're going to do 1/2 cup of this because we want to create a nice strong concentrate. We have our boiling water. We're going to add 1/2 cup of Cascara into that pot, and you're going to let it just enjoy that bubbles for a little bit, but then we're going to reduce it down to about medium to medium low heat, so we can just let that immediately. You can see the color starting to infuse into it. We're going to allow that to simmer for about 4 minutes or so. So now that that's been steeping and simmering for about 4 minutes or so, 3 to 4 minutes, we're going to take our pot and we're just going to strain the Cascara skins out very quickly. We're going to immediately put this back into our pot. We're just straining it just to get the skins out. Now that we have the concentrated Cascara liquid in the pot, we're going to put the heat back on. We're going to add a cup of sugar to the simple syrup. Swish that around. Well, ideally like to bring that back up to a boil and then once again reduce it down to a simmer for about 4 minutes once again, until it starts kind of thickening up and dissolving the sugar completely. And now, like I said, you can also adjust the amount of sugar to your taste. If you want it to be a little bit sweeter, or if you would like it to be a little more subdued, you can always eliminate some of the sugar that's in there. So while we have that simmering over here, we're going to come over here and strain our tea. So because we have the French press, this is going to make the process of straining this just a little bit easier. I'm going to press that down, unleashing some of the extra deliciousness in there. And let's pour out ourselves a nice little cup. Almost has the color of apple juice, but ooh, it definitely smells a little bit more floral actually than I was expecting. Besides, because I've just tried the having it within coffee, which definitely brings out the sort of cherry notes when you have it with like a latte or something like that. But just having it on its own, that's kind of floral. It's kind of hot, so I'm a baby when it comes to heat. It's hot. Yeah, so the taste-wise, it's just, and this one I think is definitely on a lighter side, which definitely could be someone's cup of tea. This is really nice and refreshing. I can imagine this iced is really delicious too. It kind of has a lighter taste, similar to the like what green tea would be, except it has a little bit more floral notes, kind of, lighter floral, not necessarily like strong as hibiscus. With a little bit of fruit notes in it too, some lighter fruits, which is actually really interesting. And also can be determined by the kind of coffee fruit that the Cascara comes from. But it's really delightful and interesting, and I like it, the lightness that it has. And I'm sure that if you even steep it longer, you can get more of the cherry or sort of raisin notes like I was talking about before, which is definitely going to come through within our syrup. So what's really cool just from this little tidbit is that Cascara in and of its own is also very vast and kind of is really fun to experiment with how much you want from it. So it's kind of such a versatile, this syrup looks awesome. Luckily, I also made a batch for us here at First Line so that we can enjoy our own little Cascara lattes here. This even looks like you could even put it on some pancakes even if you wanted to. This definitely has more of the raisin sort of notes in it. And I'm really excited to pour this into a latte. You can even use a simple syrup in sodas, or if you want to mix it with seltzer, or you can even mix it with a fun cocktail if you want to make a Cascara cocktail. A simple syrup like this will definitely go a long way in your household. So there is just a little introduction on Cascara, what this special ingredient that's being popped up in all different coffee shops across America, and we're finally catching on in the US about this awesome ingredient, and we're really excited to have it available on our website as well. So if you want more information about Cascara, we'll have a link down in the description of our blog to have a little more in-depth knowledge on what Cascara brings. And if you have any questions, comments, we'd love to hear them down below. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.